Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. One more time. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Now a little faster, here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. One more time. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Even faster, just kidding. Good morning.
Welcome to Sunday morning at First Unitarian Church of Rochester. I am Reverend AJ. I use he and him pronouns. And I also use the name Father now, or Dad. This is Hazel, the reason I've been away for 3 months. So thank you everyone for the warm welcome back. There's my wife Ada with Hazel. I know many of you are excited to see and welcome Hazel to our church community as well. It will be a minute before that happens, maybe a few months, as she needs to get all of her vaccinations and all of that jazz squared away. But when it is time, it will be exciting to bring her here to meet all you lovely people. Here at First Unitarian Church of Rochester, our mission is that through spiritual connection in community, we listen deeply to others and ourselves, we open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. We acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door and part of the Haudenosaunee people, on whose ancestral and contemporary lands First Unitarian now stands. If this is your first or one of your first Sundays with us, welcome. Please stop by the welcome desk so that we can have a chance to connect, get to know you better, and help you get connected here at First Unitarian. And if you're here today because you're going through a hard time or you're worried about somebody else who is, or even if you just have a great joy on your heart that you're bursting to share with somebody, please connect with our lay pastoral care chaplain who is here Sunday morning. I see Mary in the back. She's got a similar stole that she is wearing to what Reverend Shari and I wear. A few announcements. First of all, big thank you to the First Light players and congratulations on their production this weekend. 2 excellent productions of A Glowing Halo and a play about the eclipse and astronomy. And of course, we had the big eclipse here earlier this month. And if you thought that meant we were all done with cosmic star stuff, think again, because this Saturday, of course, is the high holy day known as May the 4th. And so we'll be having our Star Wars-themed gifts and talents auction. And I know our auction team has been hard at work in that. Please see the newsletter for more information. Sign up to register to come, make a donation, donate an item, and we will see you there on Saturday. And then just a heads up that in a couple weeks on May 19th, which is our Music Sunday we're very excited about, that will be our first Sunday going back to one service. It'll be at 10:30, followed by Connections. So one service starting on May 19th, and you won't want to miss Music Sunday. Leading worship with today, of course, is Reverend Shari. We've got Pablo our music director, and Massey Williams is our worship associate. She grew up in the church, and we're very excited to congratulate her on being accepted to Harvard Divinity School. Where she will begin or perhaps continue the journey of becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. So we wish her very well, and I invite her to light the chalice for us this morning as we speak our unison words. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Please rise in body or spirit one more time as we join in singing, How Could Anyone? How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected with my soul. How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good morning, everyone. As Reverend AJ just said, my name is Massey. I use she and her pronouns, and I want to talk to all of you about RE today. Again, as Reverend AJ said, I grew up in this church, and for as long as I can remember, First Unitarian has been like a second home to me. And I owe that mostly to our RE program. Like many kids, let's just say I wasn't extremely enthused about going to church every Sunday, but I thank my parents for not giving into my demands, petitions, and ransom notes and making me go anyway, because it turned out to be a pretty solid foundation for much of my life. For example, I made some of my first friends in our K-5 program. I also credit that program with fostering my passion for social justice and activism, as this was the first time I was told the stories of many important figures in the world of social justice, like Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony, who became big inspirations to me. In Spiritual Survivor, our middle school program, I developed my love of music by joining the children's choir. I also developed a deep curiosity about other religions and faiths during our explorations of other places of worship. It was in Spiritual Survivor that I think my identity as a UU really took hold. Also, OWL gave me something to brag about whenever anyone brought up sex ed. All my friends growing up had to hear, well, my church actually has a super comprehensive sex ed program, so I know a lot. I think they got sick of it eventually. However, by far the most meaningful RE experience for me was coming of age. It was exactly what I needed as I entered that crucial stage in my life where I was forming much of my identity. And I found that I really needed that push that coming of age provided to really think hard about what I believed in, what I value, and what I want my relationship with Unitarian Universalism to look like. I also formed extremely strong bonds with the other kids in my COA group that I really hold dearly to this day. They taught me that even though this was a very personal process, I didn't have to go through it alone, and that it was okay to be vulnerable with others while I was figuring this stuff out. It was this program that finally tipped me over into saying, yeah, I think this whole UU thing is for me. But most of all, I think it was the adults in RE that made the most difference, because both the RE staff and volunteers put so much love and care into the programs, and it made it feel really special. That's why when Reverend Shari asked me to lead Coming of Age this year, I was very excited, but also very nervous. I mean, how could I stack up to the amazing leaders that I had during my RE experience? There was some imposter syndrome in leading a program that was so important to me growing up. But I'm really, really glad that I stuck through it, because it made it very clear that RE is one of the foundations of this faith. It is so, so important. And as I go off to seminary in this fall to study Unitarian Universalism, that is something that I will really hold with me. And I hope all of you hold that with you too. I now invite you to rise and greet your neighbor and share with them a name of a teacher that has made an impact on your life.
Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Please join as you're able. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Couple more times. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Last time. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I will give you rest.
Please join me now in the spirit of meditation, prayer, and reflection. Great mystery which grounds us and surrounds us. Divine presence known by many names and in so many ways. Give us rest. For we come tired and weary from this great living in between birth and death, sickness and health, between the hard past and the promised future, between our worst mistakes and our highest aspirations. Tired like new parents, giving birth and caring for a world that is being born and always born anew, caring for a nascent future, wholly dependent on our attention and love to bring it into the fullness of its being. This week, as Passover comes to a close, as seders have been held in homes, in temples, and in the protest camps, may we celebrate this ancient story of liberation out of bondage and find inspiration to take our own first tentative steps of an uncertain journey towards the promised land of collective peace and prosperity. Allowing, too, the space to mourn the journeys cut short, those we have lost, and the long distance yet to go. Our hearts break with every act of hate, every act of violence, every act of war and act of oppression in the world. May our breaking and bleeding hearts fuel movement towards solidarity, peace, and a boundless compassion whose only side chosen is love, whose only side chosen is everyone. May there be freedom and safety for Palestinians the world over. May there be freedom and safety for Jews the world over. May students in university the world over be safe from the violence of their governments, be safe from the hatred of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. May our leaders and our communities writ large find the strength to lead with compassion, to listen with less fear, and to safeguard always the path towards a better tomorrow. And as our own corner of the world turns more deeply into spring, as Beltane or May Day arrives, may we all claim the joy inherent in what it means to be alive, to be a moving, breathing, inseparable, and interdependent part of Mother Earth, that great parent of us all. May we honor her as well as the generations to come to whom we are responsible. May we move along with the cosmic dance, always towards greater love and greater peace, finding our place in the unfolding of being. Finding ourselves together in this moment, in community for these hours, may we rest, may we learn, may we resist, may we commit. And from our learning, may we find peace. From our resting, may we find peace. From our learning, may we find nuance. From our resistance, may we find joy. And from our commitments to one another, may we find liberation. May it be so. Amen. and blessed be. We enter now into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it on the altar of community and spirit. Honoring the complexities of life, bring to mind whatever grief or gratitude or growth is alive within you this morning. Online, you are invited to share in the chat, and here in the sanctuary, you are invited forward to light an electric candle. If you would like an usher to bring one to you, please raise your hand. May we now share in this ritual of community, care, and witness to one another's hearts. All that we hold in our hearts, for ourselves, for each other, and for the world, is held in this community and by a larger love that will never forsake us.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Let's sing together. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Last time. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Everything that our church does for ourselves and others is made possible by what we bring to it. Each week, we practice shared generosity to support the work and witness of Unitarian Universalism in Rochester, and half of our Sunday offering goes to a partner organization working to create a more just and loving world. Today, we share our plate with the UU Schools Partnership, one of our social justice ministries here at First Unitarian. Their mission is to support schools 15 and 22 and their goals of being an enriching learning environment while meeting the individual and family needs of their students. They also advocate with parents, teachers, and school administrators for change within schools 15 and 22 and in the RCSD. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, our offering will now be received with gratitude.
So our reading today is from the Reverend Anna Levy-Lyons. And this is a story about Miriam. Miriam is the last of the Jewish people to come through the Red Sea, the sister to Moses and Aaron, and she comes dancing, comes playing her tambourine. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm going to explode. I haven't been able to sleep for weeks since these plagues have been ripping through Mitzrayim. The air is crackling with electricity. The anticipation has been building, and I just can't stand it. This prophecy from long ago that God would remember us and deliver us from this hellhole, it's actually happening. It's finally actually happening. It feels like we're all pregnant. Like all of us here are this one giant, swollen, pregnant belly, and the labor pains are here, and we are about to give birth as a people. We are about to give birth to ourselves. I can't wait to see who we are once we are born. Not everybody is as excited. They were skeptical. They are skeptical still. I don't know how you could have doubt when we've seen such amazing things that God has been doing to get us out of here. I mean, Frogs? Really? How did God think of that? They kept saying it's not going to work. Something bad's going to happen. Something's going to mess it all up. It always does. We better just keep on doing what we do. We better keep our heads down and go to work tomorrow, just like always. I don't know how anyone can think that. I don't know how anyone can live like that. We needed everyone on board. Once the Pharaoh said go, we needed everyone to turn their faces towards the future. We needed everyone to drop everything and run toward it. The whole thing could crash and burn if the people didn't commit. And if they couldn't seize this little sliver of an opportunity, well, it could just pass us by. And I, for one, was not going to sit around and leave that to chance. So I started running from house to house, pounding on doors, yelling that we have to go now, we can't wait, pulling the covers off of people in their beds, helping other people's little kids get dressed, feeding other people's animals for the journey. Women gave me patronizing smiles. They said, "We can't go yet. Our bread hasn't had a chance to rise. Later. We'll go later." That's the number one excuse. The bread hasn't had time to rise. "It doesn't matter," I shouted. "Just take it the way it is. Our liberation is here. This is going to be the bread of our freedom, and it is inconvenient." And they woke up. It was like one by one, the dull, glazed eyes left. And I saw a shy spark, something I hadn't seen in a long time. A giddy, guilty joy, wrapping their dough in cloth and packing it, everything being dismantled, everyone moving fast, everything. So much left behind. And to be fair, it wasn't everyone. A lot of people stayed in Mitzrayim. They were too scared. But I convinced hundreds, and I was the last one out. I raced back to my house and I threw a few things in my bag, only the essentials, and I turned for one last look at this little shack that had been my home for my whole life. I remembered that I had forgotten something, my tambourine. My heart was pounding. I went back in and I grabbed the tambourine and I ran and I danced. So ends our reading. My path to becoming a Unitarian Universalist. I speak now as Shari, not as Miriam. My path to becoming a Unitarian Universalist moved through another faith tradition. I grew up unchurched, without a faith community or tradition, and surprised myself when I found within me a weird and deep desire to go to a faith-based university for college. I didn't care what religion. I just knew that, well, Americans had a reputation for being religious, but I didn't really know any religious people. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I knew some bad Mormons and Scientology-curious folks. But I didn't know anyone who was really, really religious, so I wanted to meet some. And, well, in the end, it came down to a Jewish school and a Catholic school, and the Catholic school gave me more money, so that's where I went. And, well, I wasn't anticipating being changed by this tradition. I wasn't anticipating wanting to be religious. I thought I would go as a sociological experiment, meet some Catholics, and then be out of there. But in fact, I discovered around me people whose experience was guided and grounded by a community and tradition and mystery that I was deeply envious of. A holy envy, if you will. It's a thing ministers like to say to dress up what is just regular jealousy. Catholicism in the 4 years that I spent amidst Catholics, carved out within me a desire to be a person of faith without actually wanting to be Catholic. And that hole that this tradition carved out within me, Unitarian Universalism came and sat down right in once I was ready. But the truth of the matter is that had I gone to the Jewish school, that holy envy that I experienced would have been tenfold. My entire life, I have been in awe and entranced by, attracted to Judaism. Now it could be that, to be fair, I did know some relatively secular Jewish people who had amazing bar and bat mitzvahs, and I liked the party, but mostly it seemed like what attracted me to Judaism was that unlike Buddhism and Islam and Christianity and Unitarian Universalism, Judaism didn't really seem to want me. There wasn't a sort of evangelical welcome mat, unlike these other religious traditions. And I don't know what it says about me that I want to be a part of the club that's the one that doesn't really want me, but there's just something to it. Sure, Buddhism has peace and quiet, and Islam has a deep practice of embodiment. And Christianity is easy to access in this country. I could find it everywhere. And Unitarian Universalism has a powerful pluralistic theology that helps me make meaning out of my life on a daily basis, helps connect me with people, that makes this time between birth and death all the more important. But Judaism has Passover, and I love Passover. I love any holiday tradition that has a meal, and I love any holiday tradition that has a story. And when you combine them with wine, they've really got it going on. For those who don't know, and I imagine it's a couple people in the room, Passover centers around a practice held around a table, a retelling of the story of the Jewish people leaving Egypt, where they were held in slavery through 10 plagues, hardening Pharaoh's heart until he tells them to go, crossing the Red Sea, which parts, and then into the desert for 40 years, where they get the 10 Commandments twice. It's a long story. There's a lot that happens, and liberation takes many turns. And this story is told each year by family members, by small groups, yes, in larger settings also, but typically around a group that can sit at one table. Passover, this retelling of what is the core story of Judaism, is not, however, an historical reenactment. It is not a story of something that happened long ago. It's a story that each of us are invited into, that Jews are invited into. It's a deeply personal and relational story. It's not a mistake that it happens at table, not a mistake that it happens in small groups, and that you are required to participate. Passover, the story that we're invited into, Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav tells us that this story, the Exodus from Egypt, it happens in every human being, in every era, in every year, and on every day. Nope. And so I told you the story in brief of the 10 plagues, the crossing of the sea, and then into the desert. And as we close our season of in-between, as we close our muddy season here at First Unitarian, I want to narrow in for just a moment on that crossing of that place in between. I want to narrow in on the place that has slavery behind and the desert ahead, the place that has soldiers behind because Pharaoh says go and then changes his mind, and the sea ahead. Miriam behind as the last person with her tambourine, and a man named Nachshon at the very front of the procession. Nachshon is hardly mentioned in the sacred text, hardly mentioned in the Torah, but in the rabbinical commentaries in the Midrash, Nachshon is a youth leader, someone who shows up at important times to do important things. He is the first to dive into the sea. Now, the sea is meant to part. The Jewish people know this, but Nachshon goes first. Perhaps he is of incredible faith, trusting that the sea will part if only he takes action first, then God will follow. Or perhaps he was pushed or stumbled with 600,000 people behind him, people leaving their homes in a rush. The procession is hardly ever tidy, and people get hurt. Nachshon goes first, and Miriam goes last. Faithful or foolhardy, dancing and celebrating. 599,998 people in between. Now, it's an estimate. Again, this isn't a historical telling. But the Bible is full of surprisingly specific numbers. 599,998 people in between. Fortunately, I know another number, another story of a people seeking out what it means to be free when the odds are staked against them. Another story of people singing and going first, and not everybody making it. Reading out loud this number that starts with 500,000. Because I am someone who came of age to the musical Rent, I can't help but think of 528,000. Who knows the rest of them? Yeah. This song describes, from the musical Rent, how many minutes there are in a year. Now, this musical in the 90s won a Tony for Best New Musical. This song is not just a song, as our teenagers think, that was written just for this church. I know, some of the young people in this room are like, what? The even younger people don't know music? It's true. But 2 minutes out of 600,000 gives us 2 minutes out of the year. We're in this deeply relational story where Passover becomes an experience in which we are each called to see ourselves as the characters within, trying to understand how we might now be challenged to live into their foolhardiness, their faithfulness, and their celebration. I invite us to take 2 separate minutes each Passover as we examine how the Exodus is in every human, every era, every year, and on every day. The questions The beauty and the challenge we must ask ourselves is in our own lives. Where and how are we not free? What keeps me from being who I am supposed to be? What forces must I break free from? Where am I lying cozily in my bed? Where do I allow myself the comfort of bread the way I like it, as opposed to doing what I really need to do? These questions that challenge us to imagine ourselves in Egypt are what Jewish scholar Michael Walzer reminds us to take on. Each Passover, we are called to imagine that wherever we live is probably Egypt in some way. That is a hard acknowledgement as Palestinians knock on the borders seeking safety in Egypt now. Second, that there is a better place, a world that is a more attractive, promised land. And third, that the way to the land is through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by going together and marching. Now, 2 minutes out of 600,000. I want us first to imagine that we are Nachshon, pushed or leaping. Where might we take a foolish risk? Where might we proceed when the way is unclear? What challenge lies ahead in your life where there is a more attractive promised land, but you do not yet know the way? So I invite you to take 1 minute in silence to think in your own life where Nachshon might come alive. Returning to this room and the muddy middle, we now take a minute to imagine how Miriam might come and rouse us from our beds. Where might we need waking? Where might we celebrate? Where might the tambourine come, dancing and singing, even when we are afraid? What joy might accompany change in our lives right now? What lining are we missing? Returning now to the muddy middle, most of the time. Most of the time, we find ourselves swept up with the crowd, swept up with the trajectory of our lives, the changes washing over us like waves in a sea beyond our control. Passover, the story, the tradition, a way of living, is an invitation to us all, an inspiration from our Jewish siblings among us here and beyond, to not only be envious from afar or nearby if you're lucky enough to be invited to a Seder, but to dig deep, to find in these 2 minutes a way of making waves in your own life. Happy Passover. May you find inspiration. May you go dancing. May you go leaping. Amen.
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together, "There is a river flowing in my soul."
Our journey having just begun, we move now into Connection, or in a moment. Lots of exciting things happening in Connection. We've got games for all ages. There's plant-based cooking happening. The board is having their Continuing the Journey invitation to discussion. You can learn more about Beltane at the Nature-Based Spirituality Connection offering. There's Parenting Matters, and of course, UU 101 if you are new or newish and want to learn more about this whole Unitarian Universalism thing. So now, as we close our service, please join me in our unison words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go even though the dough has not risen. Go when it's inconvenient. Go when the time is right. Go, even if you're not ready. Go with peace. Go with love. Amen.